Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Radhanata Radha Radhanata Radhe Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jai Gauranitai. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jaya Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Praivaracharya Astatara Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jaya Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Praivaracharya Astatara Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj ki jai. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radharadhanath ki jai. Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Indradumna Swami Tinamini. Namo Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatade Shatarine. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we're going to be speaking from Sri Isopanisad, text 16. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So the verse goes as follows. Pushan akarshayan surya prajapatya vyuta rashmin samuha tejo yatte rupam kalyana temam tate pashyami yosa ashu purusho soham asmi. The word for word translation goes as follows. Pushan, O maintainer. Ekarisha, the primeval philosopher. Yama, the regulating principle. Surya, the destination of the Suris, great devotees. Prajapatya, the well-wisher of the Prajapatis, progenitor of mankind. Vyuha, kindly remove. Rasmin, the rays. Samuha, kindly withdraw. Teja, effulgence. Yat, so that. Te, your. Rupam, form. Kalyanatamam, most auspicious. Tat, that. Te, your. Pashyami, I may see. Yaha, one who is. Aso, like the sun. Aso, that. Purusha, personality of Godhead. Saha, myself. Aham, I. Asmin, am. The translation goes as follows. O my Lord, O primeval philosopher, maintainer of the universe, O regulating principle, destination of the pure devotees, well-wisher of the progenitors of mankind, Please remove the effulgence of your transcendental rays so that I can see your form of bliss. You are the eternal Supreme Personality of Godhead, like unto the sun, as am I. So we'll read the purport given by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The sun and its rays are one and the same qualitatively. Similarly, the Lord and the living entities are one and the same in quality. The sun is one, but the molecules of the sun's rays are innumerable. The sun's rays constitute parts of the sun and its rays conjointly constitute the complete sun. Within the sun itself resides the sun god, and similarly within the supreme spiritual planet, Goloka Vrindavan, from which the Brahmajyoti effulgence is emanating, the Lord enjoys His eternal pastimes, as verified in the Brahma Samhita 5.29. Chintamani prakara sadma sukalpa vriksha lakshavrite susurabhira pipalayantam Lakshmi sahasra satasam ramasevymanam Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who in tending the cows, fulfilling all desires in abodes filled with spiritual gems, and surrounded by millions of wish-fulfilling trees. He is always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis, or goddesses of fortune. The Brahmajyoti is described in the Brahma Samhita as the rays emanating from the supreme spiritual planet Goloka Vrindavan. Just as the sun's rays emanate from the sun globe, until one surpasses the glare of the Brahmajyoti, one cannot receive information of the land of the Lord. The impersonalist philosophers, blinded as they are by the dazzling Brahmajyoti, can realize neither the factual abode of the Lord nor the transcendental form. Limited with poor fund of knowledge, such impersonal thinkers cannot understand the all-blissful transcendental form of the Lord. In this prayer, therefore, Sri Isopanisad petitions the Lord to remove the effulgence rays of the Brahmajyoti so that the pure devotees can see His all-blissful transcendental form. So, as we explain, then I'll continue, reading and explaining. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur-militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadammayam Tadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopeka Kanta Radhakanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchikalpatarubhaischa Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, dear devotees, we just read some part of the purport, and here Srila Prabhupada is saying that the Brahmajyoti is actually emanating from Goloka Vrindavan, And we know what happens in Golok Vrindavan, right? Krishna is there with his friends and the cows, the cowherd boys, the gopis, his parents, and they're having transcendental leela, right? They're enjoying themselves. And this effulgence is emanating from there, right, down to the other spiritual planets like Vaikuntha, and until it reaches this planet, right, in the form of the sun, right? Because the sun is part of the Brahma Jyoti. And then therefore we have light on this planet. Otherwise, it's in total darkness. When it's dark, we cannot even see our fingers. We cannot see our hand. So this is the light that's emanating from Krishna's body. So there's a nice verse in the Bhagavatam, 1:2:11. Vedantista tatvavidas Tatvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti subjete. That learned transcendentalists see this non-dual substance as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So it is said that learned transcendentalists, so not any ordinary person, right? Learned transcendentalists, those who have delved into the Vedas, and they have taken out knowledge from the Vedas, and this is how they see the Lord. They see the Lord as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So there's a nice analogy that can be actually given. One analogy is the sun, the sunlight, and the sun globe, right? So the sun's rays is likened to the Brahman aspect of the Lord, right? And the sun globe is enlightened. Now, how does it go? The sun's surface. Yeah, the sun's surface is likened to the Paramatma feature of the Lord, and the sun globe is the Bhagavan feature of the Lord. And also, there's another analogy that Prabhupada gives, and he gives of the train, right? When you see a train coming from a distance, you only see the light of the train, and you may not know what a train is, but when you see the train, then you see the light of the train. And then you may take, the train is a light, So people who don't know about God, they think that God is like all pervasive, and, they liken him to a light because they do not have sufficient information about God. So they liken him to a light. Now this light or Brahma Jyoti, is easily attainable by the demons. When Krishna kills the demons, then when you see films of Krishna, and Krishna is killing demons. And when the demon dies, then there's something like a light comes out of the demon and goes into Krishna's body. You saw that, right? So that's the soul, basically, and it goes into the body of Krishna. So it actually goes into the Brahma Jyoti. Where is that? Okay. So this is, this is what they attain. The demons attain the Brahma Jyoti. So do we want to go to the Brahma Jyoti and associate with the demons there, Because they attain the Brahma Jyoti. They live there for some time, and, then they come back down to this planet and, try to elevate themselves and go back to the spiritual world. So like this, but devotees of the Lord, they want to go to the supreme abode of Krishna, right? And enjoy with Krishna, like Krishna is enjoying in the spiritual world, with the cowherd, with his boyfriends. Like nobody knows that Krishna is God there, or their love supersedes everything, so it's covered over, and they don't think that Krishna is God. They just love him as a friend, right? Or Mother Yashoda just loves him as a child. And the gopis just love him, unconditionally. So like this, they don't think that Krishna is God, because if they had this slight tinge of this awe and reverence that Krishna is God, then there won't be any wonderful pastimes in Golok Vrindavan. It'll be like Vaikuntha, where everyone is serving the Lord as Lord and Master, right? So there won't be this wonderful, sweet, transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Now, when Krishna comes to this material world, right, he comes here and he brings his whole entourage from the spiritual world. And, and they behave similarly as they're in the spiritual world, they behave similar here. And when people, without sufficient knowledge read the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, and they liken Krishna to be, an ordinary person, because they do not have sufficient information about Krishna, they just liken him to be an ordinary boy, right? Like Brahma, Brahma, when he saw Krishna playing with his friends, and throwing mud on each other and playing gulli danda and, all these things, and eating from their plates, when he saw him eating, no, this is not God, because God won't eat other people's remnants, We eat Krishna's remnants because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? But God won't eat from another person. So he was like baffled, like how is this so? This is not my Lord, because my Lord won't do this. So in this way, he tricked Krishna, right? And he said, okay, I'm going to test him to see whether he is really God, right? And he tricked Krishna and he stole the calves and the cowherd boys and he hid them away. So, and then Krishna expanded into all the calves and the cowherd boys. And then he's like wondering, like, what happened here? When he went to the cave and he saw that, all these cowherd boys and the cows are in the cave, and he came back and he sees, hey, they're here as well. So, and he was like baffled. No, then he came to realize that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he expanded himself into all the cows and cowherd boys like this. So in this way, he surrendered to Krishna, right? So for ordinary people, like us out there, if we don't know any better about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we'll liken him to, to be the light. And this is the Mayavad philosophy, that God is light. And Prabhupada, that's why he came here to this material world, to get rid of this mentality of basically the whole world is going through this nirvishesha shunyavadi, right? Impersonalism and voidism. He came to get rid of that. So in his pranam mantra, right, we can all say it together. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschataya Deshatarine. The Prabhupada came here to get rid of this impersonalism and voidism. So once, the devotees, when they used to listen to Prabhupada's class, right? And so Prabhupada used to always smash the Mayavadis and the impersonalism and voidism. He used to always smash them. And then the devotees got together and they said, who is this Mayavadi that he is giving Prabhupada so much of problems? We should confront him, right? And we should, dish him out in one sense. And, because they don't want Prabhupada to be hurt in any way. And Prabhupada is like always smashing this idea of, because they didn't know any better, what is Mayavadi, what is the impersonalism, what is voidism. They didn't know these terminologies. So they were thinking like this. And, then they confronted Prabhupada and they asked, like, Prabhupada, who is this person that's giving you so much of problems, this Mayavadis and this, So like this, then Prabhupada explained, like in India there's different schools of thought, and there's different transcendentalists also, and they want to attain to be one with Krishna. Now this idea of being one with Krishna, Prabhupada says, is the height of envy, because you want to become God. Because to be one with Krishna means you want to become God. Right? So this is the height of envy. We all have fallen into this material world because of enviousness of Krishna, right? But when we, come to this process of Mayavad, then it's like the height of envy, because we want to become God again. So in this way, therefore, Prabhupada came here to smash all these ideas, right? And we see that Brihat Maharaj, when he was serving, or he was taking prasadam actually, and the service came around serving prasad to the devotees, and then there was a Mayavadi sitting next to him, and then Brihat Maharaj says, you can just put 1 grain for him, because all is one. So they put 1 grain, and this Mayavadi looked at Brihat Maharaj and said, what? 1 grain, how can I be filled with 1 grain? And Brihat Maharaj then smashed his idea, his impersonal philosophy of Mayavadi, that all is one. And in this way, there was a conversation ensued, and Maharaj asked him, so do you accept defeat, that this 1 grain is equal to all the grain in the pot? So do you accept this philosophy, so you can eat that 1 grain and you'll be satisfied? So so in this way, he, and then he says, no, he needs more prasad, and then Maharaj said, okay, so now do you accept that all is not one, right? So in this way, there's so many ways you can actually defeat this philosophy. Also, they say that all paths lead to the same goal. But no, Prabhupada says, if you buy a ticket to go to Johannesburg, it won't take you to Cape Town, because all paths don't lead to the same goal. So this is the wrong idea in Hinduism, that all paths lead to the same goal. It doesn't. And Krishna very clearly points that out in the Bhagavad Gita. Yanti deva vrata devan pittar yanti priti vrataha bhutane yanti bhutaya yajanti mad apimam. That if you worship the demigods, you go to the planets of the demigods. If you worship the ghosts and spirits, you go to that planet. If you worship the pittars, you go to that planet. And if you worship me, you come to me. So this is so clearly explained, and Prabhupada very nicely in the Bhagavad Gita, he explains this concept, right? So like this, we should read Prabhupada's books and get more knowledge, and study Prabhupada's books actually at the Bhaktivedanta College, right? And we have online classes as well. So try to imbibe this philosophy and, and preach it as well. Because now is a book marathon, right? And we all need to take to this process of distributing these literatures far and wide to everyone we meet, basically. And just yesterday I was on book distribution, and Prabhu was there, and he very, very nicely supported us, right? So in this way, we should actually go and give this knowledge to everyone, because people out there, they don't know, right? And we as devotees, we should feel some compassion in our hearts and actually go and give this knowledge to them. So because we cannot preach it, and if even we try to preach, they won't listen. But if they take a book, Prabhupada is preaching in the book, and in this way, their materialism or their Maya will be actually smashed. So, Jai Shri Radha Radhanath ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. In Krishna book also we find Krishna speaks Mayavad philosophy, right? In Krishna book, Krishna speaks Mayavad philosophy. Who can tell me where? Krishna speaks Mayavad philosophy in Krishna book. Anywhere? Who knows? Come on, you're the devotees are supposed to be reading. Yes. Yeah, no, I'm talking about Krishna book. We'll come there as well. So yes, Krishna speaks Mayavad philosophy to his mother Yashoda, right? When he ate the dirt, right? And then his mother says, well, you shouldn't be eating this because I make such nice rasgulla and all these butter and yogurt that you like, and you go and eat dirt. And he says, what's the difference? All is one. If I'm eating the dirt, it's the same. And also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, right, when Lord Chaitanya, he's sitting on the pile of dirty pots, and his mother comes and chastises him. And, in that way he also tells it. And then his mother smashes that idea. And she says that, that earth, basically, when it's taken and it's transformed into different things like pots, and then it can be used as utensils. But you cannot eat the dirt, or you cannot sit on these dirty pots. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you cannot sit on these dirty pots and think it's the same. No, there is a difference. So in this way, he basically, his mother smashes that idea of Mayavad philosophy. So, and also when earth is transformed into grass that that the cow feeds on, and it's transformed into milk, and then with milk you can make so many delicious items, right? Rasgulla, sandesh, and all of these things, butter, yogurt, and when you consume that, then it's that's what's actually meant, right, for the human consumption, not dirt like this. So so Mother Yashoda, she smashes Krishna's Mayavad philosophy in that. And this can be in this way we can also use these similar lines to actually smash Mayavad philosophy when we confront people, and they bring up their Mayavad philosophies like this. So we can actually confront them and use these examples to actually state how that Mayavad, that God is not impersonal, but He is a person, right? So once Advaita Acharya Prabhu from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he was he wanted to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, right? And he did not know how to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, because Lord Chaitanya always worshipped him with awe and reverence, because he was elder to him. And, he's like much like supposed to be his grandfather. He's so much older than Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he's actually worshipping Advaita Acharya. So Advaita Acharya says, how am I going to get his mercy? And then he thought of an idea. Okay, I will go and speak Mayavad philosophy. So he opened his school, and all his students came, and he started speaking Mayavad philosophy. We are all one. What are some of the things that the Mayavadis say? Right? You are God, I am God, we all God, like this. So when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard about this, he was so furious that he went there to that school, pulled Advaita Acharya out of his Vyasasan and started whacking him, right? And kicking him and booting him. And then his wife, Sita Thakurani, she came and said, "What are you doing, my lord? He's going to die. He's an old man. Please don't do this." And but Advaita Acharya, he was in so much of ecstasy, because now the Lord, is actually taking him to be an ordinary person, lower than him in one sense, that he's actually beating him up. So so Advaita Acharya, he actually got the Lord's mercy like this. So we should also try to get the Lord's mercy. How? By actually preaching Krishna consciousness, and not Mayavad philosophy, because if we preach Mayavad philosophy, who knows where we'll end up, right? But if we preach against this Mayavad philosophy, as Prabhupada did, right? So in this way, we can attain Srila Prabhupada's mercy, and we can attain the Lord's mercy. So Prabhupada says, if you want to please me, distribute my books, right? So this is what we meant to do. And now this book marathon is here, December, so we need to go out and distribute these books. If somehow you cannot distribute these books, then you can actually give a donation to the devotees who are distributing books, and they can, use that donation to give to people who cannot afford it but may want the knowledge, right? So in this way, book sponsorships, and there's so many ways you can preach, right? The last week we had a panel discussion about book distribution, and different devotees spoke, and just to enthuse the audience to actually go out and distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, right? So let's continue reading and see what Prabhupada has to say here. By realizing the impersonal Brahmajyoti, one experiences the auspicious aspect of the Supreme, and by realizing the Paramatma, the all-pervading feature of the Supreme, one experiences that even more auspicious enlightenment. But by meeting the personality of Godhead face to face, the devotee experiences the most auspicious feature of the Supreme. Since he is addressed as a primeval philosopher and maintainer and well-wisher of the universe, the Supreme Truth cannot be impersonal. This is the verdict of the Sri Isopanisad. The word Pushan, maintainer, is especially significant, for although the Lord maintains all beings, he specifically maintains the devotees. After surpassing the impersonal Brahmajyoti and seeing the personal aspect of the Lord and his most auspicious eternal form, the devotee realizes the absolute truth in full. So here Prabhupada is saying that, if you experience the Brahmajyoti, then, you gain some auspiciousness, right? It's not that everything is lost. You gain some auspiciousness. And you also, if you attain the Paramatma feature, you come to that realization that the Lord in the heart, and you worship the Lord in the heart. So that's also more auspicious. But the most auspicious platform is to see Krishna face to face. Like here on our altar, we have Radha-Nath, and when we see Radha-Nath, we actually get so much of benefit from just taking darshan of the Lord, right? In this in his Bhagavad Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami states, the complete conception of the Absolute Truth is realized in the personality of Godhead because he is ultimately the possessor. He is ultimately and possesses. He's the Almighty and possesses full transcendental potencies. The full potency of the Absolute Truth is realized in the Brahmajyoti. Therefore, Brahman realization is only partial realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. O learned sages, the first syllable of the word Bhagavan, Bha, has two meanings. The first is one who fully maintains, and the second is guardian. The second syllable, Ga, means guide, leader, or creator. And the syllable Van indicates that every being lives in him and that he lives in every being. In other words, the transcendental Son, Bhagavan, represents infinite knowledge, potency, energy, opulence, strength, and influence, all without a tinge of material inebriety. Right? So this word Bhagavan includes everything. It includes the Paramatma feature of the Lord. It includes the Brahman aspect and Bhagavan, right? Bhagavan, because Bhagavan he's full of opulences, and we know that Krishna is full of the 6 opulences, right? So name, fame, beauty, strength, wealth, and renunciation. The Lord fully maintains his unalloyed devotees, and he guides them progressively on the path towards devotional perfection. As a leader of his devotees, he ultimately awards the desired results of devotional service by giving himself to them. The devotees of the Lord see the Lord eye to eye by his causeless mercy. Thus, the Lord helps his devotee reach the supermost spiritual planet, Goloka Vrindavan. Being the creator, he can bestow all necessary qualification upon his devotees so that they can ultimately reach him. The Lord is the cause of all causes. In other words, since there is nothing that caused him, he is the original cause. Right? Consequently, he enjoys his own self by manifesting his own spiritual internal potency. The external potency is not exactly manifested by him, for he expands himself as the Purushas, and in these forms that he maintains the features of the material manifestation. By such expansions, he creates, maintains, and annihilates the cosmic manifestation. So here, Prabhupada is talking about the Purushas, right? So Krishna expands as his Purushas, and he maintains the entire universe. So as Shirodaksha Vishnu, he maintains this entire universe, right? And so in this way, the Lord, he comes in these three features: Shirodaksha Vishnu, Mahavishnu, and Karanadaksha Vishnu, right? So, and it is stated here also that he is the original personality of Godhead. Being the creator, he can bestow all necessary qualifications upon his devotees so that they can ultimately reach him. So all we have to do is stick on this path of Krishna consciousness, and we'll ultimately go back to the spiritual world, back home, back to God. And I know it's like sounds so far away, right? It's like so we cannot even conceive of going back to the spiritual world. It's like it's so far away from us. But Prabhupada said all we have to do is just chant our 16 rounds, follow the 4 regulative principles, eat prasadam, right? Take prasadam, and in this way, go back home, back to Godhead. It's so simple, but we know as practicing devotees that, there are many impediments that come on our way, and Krishna is testing us to see how serious are we, right? If we are not serious enough, we'll say, to hell with this Krishna consciousness. I'd rather just go back to my whatever material, So I was more happy in material life, right, than going through all these adversities. So this is the lack of faith that we have. We lack faith when we say, that Krishna consciousness is not working. Because if you stick to the process, no matter whatever calamities will come upon you, right, adversities that may come upon you, Krishna is watching, because he's also in the heart of the devotee, and he's watching your every thought and your every move. So, he will take this into cognizance, and he will say that my devotee, although he's going through so much, he's still worshipping me. He's still, is attached to my lotus feet. So I will give him all, benediction so he can come back to me. And there's a verse like this in the Bhagavatam as well, right? Tatyenu kampam susamikshamano. That this, while the devotee may practice Krishna consciousness and going through all these adversities, but he's still worshipping my lotus feet, and for him, the kingdom of God is open for him. So in this way, just by sticking to this process of Krishna consciousness, because we know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, and not that we have this philosophy, we cannot, even if we leave Krishna consciousness, somehow or the other, we will be reminded of Krishna somehow or the other, and we'll come back to Krishna. Because Krishna won't leave us. We may leave him, but he won't leave us. So somehow or the other, he will bring you back. Right? So, how much time do we have? 10 minutes. Or 5 minutes, because we leave 5 minutes for questions and answers, right? So, so in this way. So let's just continue reading. Living entities are also differentiated expansions of the Lord's self. And because some of them desire to be lords and imitate the Supreme Lord, he allows them to enter into the cosmic creation with the option to fully utilize the propensity to lord it over nature. So because we desire to be the Lord of everything we survey, then that is why Krishna says, okay, go. Material world is yours. You be the Lord of the material world, right? And then we come here and we say, hey, I'm not the Lord, because we get reminded all the time that we are not the Lord of this material world. Everything is not mine. It has to come from somewhere. So we are not the Lord of this material world. But we try to be lords of this material world, right? So we may get a wife, a family, and try to control them, right? Or we may have a factory or an institution that we want to control. There's always this idea of controllership. We want to control, right? We don't want to be servants. Who wants to be servant in this material world, right? We all came here to be lords of this material world. So, in somehow or the other, even you come to Krishna consciousness and you want to be the Lord, in that you want a position, you want this, and you want to control. So, this is not on, right? So, but Krishna, somehow or the other, he'll teach you, hey, you're not the Lord, I'm in control, right? He always smashes the devotee and brings them to their senses again, that you're not the Lord, right? You're a servant. So, in this way, but actually being a servant is so beautiful, right? Like the gopis, they don't want any other position. They just want to serve Krishna unconditionally, right? And when Krishna sees this, it attracts him, right? So if we want to attract Krishna, then we need to be the servant of Krishna. And actually a devotee is greater than Krishna in one sense, right? A devotee is greater than Krishna because Krishna, he cannot repay you for the simple service you do for him. Like during Kartik, offering a lamp to Krishna, he cannot find anything how to repay that devotee, right? So he just gives himself to the devotee, and he doesn't give himself just to anyone as well, because he doesn't like to be in one sense purchased by anyone, right? So he reserves that right. But when a devotee is sincere, in Krishna consciousness, then Krishna gives himself to that devotee, like that. So in this way, we can purchase Krishna. I think I went on too long babbling. I'll just read the last paragraph. The all-pervading feature of the Lord, which exists in all circumstances of waking and sleeping, as well as potential states from which the Jiva Shakti, living force, is generated as both conditioned and liberated souls, is known as Brahman. Since the Lord is the origin of both Paramatma and Brahman, he is the origin of all living entities and all else that exists. One who knows this engages himself at once in the devotional service of the Lord. Such a pure and fully cognizant devotee of the Lord is fully attached to him in heart and soul. And whenever such a devotee assembles with similar devotees, they have no engagement but the glorification of the Lord's transcendental activities. Those who are not as perfect as the pure devotees, namely those who have realized only the Brahman and Paramatma feature of the Lord, cannot appreciate the activities of the perfect devotees. So, dear devotees, you are all perfect devotees because you are seated here and you are listening to Sri Isopanisad, right? So, in one sense, here Prabhupada says that those who worship the Brahman aspect of the Lord and the Paramatma feature of the Lord, they don't have attraction for the pastimes of the Lord. So they won't go to a satsang and listen to the pastimes of the Lord. But you are here, right? The Lord always helped the pure devotees by imparting necessary knowledge within their heart, and thus out of His special favor, He dissipates the darkness of ignorance. So the speculative philosophers and yogis cannot imagine this because they more or less depend on their own strength. As stated in the Katha Upanishad 1-23, the Lord can be known only by those whom He favors and not by anyone else. Such special favors are bestowed upon His pure devotees only. Sri Isopanisad points to that favor of the Lord which is beyond the purview of Brahmajyoti. So you may say, but I'm not pure. Right? Prabhupada says, you're all pure devotees here in this purport. You may say, but I'm not pure. I have so many things that, that I do that I'm not pure. But the fact that you're sitting here and you're listening to this conversation, or to this Bhagavad Katha, right? It's a Bhagavad Katha in one sense, because we're speaking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You're listening to the glories of the Lord. So therefore, you are pure devotees because Prabhupada is a pure devotee, right? The parampara that we have accepted, right? The Brahma Sampradaya, they are all pure devotees, right? All the previous acharyas are pure devotees. And because we are listening to Prabhupada's words, he's a pure devotee. Although I may not be pure as well, but because we are reading Prabhupada's word and trying to explain it to the best of our ability, and you are listening to this purity of this knowledge, right? Then in the satsang you are all pure. This is what Prabhupada is saying. That, because you are listening to such special favors are bestowed upon His pure devotees only. Those who listen to His glories, right? Such special favors, right? Sri Isopanisad thus points to the favor of the Lord, by which is beyond the purview of the Brahmajyoti. So now that you understand that, the Brahmajyoti aspect of the Lord is, just a partial representation of the Lord. So you have that knowledge now that you listen to the Sri Isopanisad, right? We all have this knowledge. And therefore, you are pure devotees. Because you're listening to pure transcendental subject matter. Hare Krishna. So, you may have some comments. You're most welcome to share that now. Yes, Gangamata Goswamini. I like your name.
Thank you, Mother Ranga, for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
When you were talking about how the devotees defeated the Mayavad philosophy with the grain of rice analogy, how, one is the same as all of it, so what's the difference? I was thinking about another time, Srila Prabhupada's disciples were in India and they were traveling to different temples and they were living quite austerely and they were staying at one temple and it was very cold and they met a Mayavad philosopher there. And the devotees, they had this torn little blanket, but he had...
I think that was at Kumbh Mela, huh?
Oh, can you tell us that? I can't remember the details, maybe, but they met this Mayavad philosopher, and he had a big blanket, so they said, no, can we swap with you? Because, everything's one, so it's the same. And then the next day, he came back with the torn blanket and said, actually, I'm defeated. It's not the same. It was so cold yesterday.
Yeah, and so all is not one.
Huh? No. And I was also just thinking about something Srila Prabhupada said about how tricky Mayavad philosophy can be. Sometimes it will say, yes, actually there is a God, but he's legless and handless and faceless, so less, everything less, so eventually then God has no attributes. They give him no attributes. That's actually
Prabhupada said they mutilate the body of God. Right? By presenting this philosophy.
In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Adi Leela, it's explained that when Krishna performs his pastimes, when he reveals his pastimes to us here, he's even himself is even amazed by the pastimes that he performs. And I was just thinking about how he's Rasa Raj, and we're all actually looking for that rasa. So, the Mayavad philosophy is just too dry. But I'm trying to remember a particular verse which says something like, when we get some experience, even just a little bit of, the association of the Lord, then we can't help but remember that again and again. I can't remember the verse though. Some verse like that. Do you know which verse that is?
No.
Okay, and then you were talking about how Krishna feels so obliged to a devotee.
Well, you're talking about the verse Lava Matra Sadhusanga, 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 Sarvasiddhi Hoy. Lava Matra Sadhusanga. I think that's one. Just by a moment's association of a devotee, your life becomes perfect.
Oh, it's not that verse, it's another one. Okay. I'll try to find it sometime. Okay. And then you were talking about how Krishna feels so obliged to a devotee when they offer just some simple service that he just offers himself, if the devotee is sincere. And I was trying to also remember here where Krishna speaks to the gopis and he says that I can't actually repay you for your service, but so please just be satisfied with your service as your
reward.
Yes. So it's like that devotional service is within itself so glorious and it's so glorious that nothing else is required.
Exactly.
Trying to understand that.
So, anyone else? Grantaraj Shri Isopanisad ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you, Ganga Mata.